fourth graders. So we are continuing on in our story, The One and Only Bob, which is the companion novel to The One and Only Ivan that we read in class. This story kind of gives us an idea of what Bob's life was like as a puppy before he found Ivan and the Big Top Mall, and then what his life is like after the Big Top Mall when he gets adopted and taken in by George and Julia and Sarah, and what their life is like after, with George working at the zoo, and how the animals find their life after the Big Top Mall. In the part that we read in the last video, part 8, we saw that the hurricane that the animals and George and Julia have been kind of preparing for and kind of making a reference about that was forecasted. They had a tornado that was part of that hurricane, and George and Julia and Ivan and Bob have all been separated from one another. And so Bob is making his way through the park trying to find George and Julia and Ivan. And on his journey through the park trying to find Julia and Ivan, he runs across some other animals that have been separated or need help as a result of this tornado. So in this part, this is part 9, we are starting on page 161, and we're going to read what else has happened with Bob as a result of this tornado. So this is called Make No Sudden Moves. I've ridden around the grounds of the park in Julia's backpack enough to know every inch of the place. I've even chatted with many of the residents, but now everything is topsy-turvy. I keep finding myself in places I don't want to be, like the wolf exhibit. Near the entrance, a sign lies crushed on the ground. It has a picture of a gray wolf with an arrow pointing one way, and another arrow with an emperor penguin on it. To my right, I see a piece of hay stuck deep in a tree trunk like a pencil in a cupcake. To my left, water gushes from a pathside ditch, a broken pipe. The boiling sky has settled into a solid blanket of gray, and the rain's quieted to a steady drizzle. Still, I smell more bad weather menacing in the distance, so his dog senses are kind of telling him that it's not over yet. Tossed into a bush is a large informational display with a photo of 2 gray wolves. I don't see any fence or barrier or intact wall, and it dawns on me that grumpy wolves and tiny dogs might not make the best of pals, especially under these trying circumstances. Just as I start to leave, a wolf on the sign seems to move, to blink. Oh, he isn't part of the sign. He's next to the sign. It's Kimu. That was the wolf that Bob was talking about when they were discussing the good and the bad of being wild or domesticated. Hey, I say. No answer. Something tells me I should hightail it out of there. Something else is saying, make no sudden moves. I hate it when my brain disagrees with itself. I split the difference, crouching meekly, doing the whole submissive dog thing, meaning he wants no trouble. Kimu locks his gaze on me. I try not to make direct eye contact. A lot of animals find that threatening, but his eyes are mesmerizing, glowing amber, and way too smart. He moves again. 2 paws appear. Big paws. Nothing like my feeble, shrimpy feet. These paws are the size of hamburger buns. Hamburger buns with lethal claws attached. Mutt versus wolf. I wait for him to launch into his pounce. Maybe if I time my escape just right. Yeah, sure. In a battle of Chihuahua mutt versus wolf, even I wouldn't bet on the dog. Do they break your neck before they eat you? That only seems fair. My heart's doing this crazy tap dance in my chest, and I wonder if he can hear it. I sneak a peek at him. Strangely, he just keeps staring at me. Quickly, I avert my gaze. Those eyes, those chilling, dangerous eyes. It's me, Bob, I say. Kimu says nothing. He's panting hard. Maybe he's disoriented, or even hurt. I try to speak again. My voice seems to be hiding somewhere deep in my throat. Another try. Kimu? He blinks. Are you all right? No response. Anyone else hurt? I ask. This time he seems to hear me. I don't know. His voice is a low whisper. Can I help? I ask, really hoping the answer is no. Suzu, I can't find her. All right then, I say. I'll take a look. I poke around a bit, careful not to get too close to Kimu. A sour smell pours off of him like sweat off a human. I don't see her, I say after a few minutes, but I'm sure she's fine. Just a little shook up, probably. Hiding somewhere. He doesn't answer. I should go. I'm looking for some friends, I say. Is there anything else I can do? He looks up at the ominous sky as if there's an answer waiting there. I don't know, he says. I don't know. I just don't know. Gorilla World. I move on. I have to find my friends. Have to. But where am I? I leap over another mangled signpost with bent arrows. One way to Reptileville, one way to Lionland. I pass the mangrove swamp. A manatee pokes up her big head, draped with Spanish moss like a silly wig. Two workers in yellow raincoats trot past me. One has a bloody bandage on his cheek. I need to stop, regroup. Cool it, Bob, I tell myself. I'm panicking, not taking in the right data. I try to block out all the horrible smells, all the awful noise. I concentrate, letting my nose do the real work. A whiff of something familiar. Gorilla? It has to be gorilla. Full run now. I cut my back left paw on a shard of glass. Trip. Fall hard on my nose and cut it too. Dripping blood, I carry on. Find them. Find them. Find them. A massive oak lies on its side at the entrance to Gorilla World. Huge tangled roots grope in the air like frozen snakes. And just beyond where Ivan lives is nothing but devastation. Help us. The stone wall separating Gorilla World and Elephant Odyssey is gone. Pieces of both domains mingle. An elephant toy here, a gorilla nest there. Part of the indoor gorilla space has crumbled to the ground. I scan the area where Ruby and her herd like to hang out. Nothing. No gorillas either. Out of nowhere, the rain picks up, coming sideways, blinding me. The wind howls like a hurt dog. This storm isn't over. Not by a long shot. I leap over a pile of cement blocks, catch my hurt foot on something sharp, yelp, keep going. Ivan, I call. Ruby! Nothing. I get to a slight rise, leap onto another overturned tree, and try to make sense of the damage. Red and blue lights cut through the rain. Police. Fire engines. Good. We need all the help we can get. I take in several lungfuls of the hideous air. It's too wet, too full of conflicting odors, a mishmash of scents I can't decipher, especially with my busted nose. The wind gathers speed, pushing me with incredible force. It feels like it'll tear my ears right off my sore noggin. I can barely stay upright. Wind like that, storm wind, doesn't carry scent. It obliterates it, or it destroys us, or destroys it. Help! Help us! It's a tiny, desperate voice. Maybe even Ruby's voice. So this hurricane is still coming. It's still storming. Kudzu. I pick my way through the debris, trying to lock onto the sound. It isn't easy. Please help us. Climbing over the remains of the wall, the one I was sitting on what seems like only moments ago, I find myself at the bank of the moat. Ruby! I call at the top of my lungs. Uncle Bob! The sound of my name cuts through the gloom like a shaft of sunlight. Ruby runs to the opposite edge of the water. She's maybe 8 feet away, but I can barely make her out in the torrential rain. "You stay there," I yell, trying to be heard over the wind. "I'll come to you." I follow the bank until I come to a spot where several chunks of wall have tumbled into the water. 3 careful leaps and I'm across. Ruby runs to greet me. She wraps her mud-coated trunk around my neck, and boy, oh boy, am I glad to see that sweet little elephant. "You hurt, Ruby?" I ask. "Is everyone all right?" Ruby sniffles. "Yes, but come quick." She dashes off before I can ask anything more. 5 of Ruby's aunts stand by the elephant side of the moat. Each one has her trunk plunged deep in the dark, muddy water. They look like a bunch of kids trying to find a lost toy in a swimming pool. It's almost funny, until I see what they're reaching for. A baby gorilla is in the moat. The tiny gal keeps grabbing for a trunk to hold on to, then slipping free. Her terrified screeches fill the air. It's Kudzu, Ivan's favorite. Remember the baby gorilla that had jumped on Ivan? That's who it is. "I'm going in," says Masika, one of the younger aunts. "Might make things worse," Akello cautions. "Displace the mud. Pull her down toward the bottom." "I could go in," I suggest, the words popping out before I can swallow them. "It's more than mud, Bob." Akello shakes her head. "You'll get as stuck as Kudzu." I don't exactly argue that point. "I've got an idea," comes a small voice. All the aunties turn to Ruby, and she looks startled to have their complete attention. "A couple of us get on the other side of the moat," Ruby says. "Grab trunks. We'll make it like what do you call it?" "A sling!" I exclaim. "A hammock, like the gorillas have." "I don't know, Ruby." Akello sounds doubtful. Kudzu grabs for Masika's trunk with both hands. "Wait," Masika says. "Think I've got her this time." Masika lifts her trunk with deliberate slowness, carefully trying to support the baby gorilla, but once again Kudzu can't hold on. She lets out a despairing cry. Down she goes, lower this time, her nose and eyes just visible. "Okay," Akello says with a nod at Ruby. "Let's give Ruby's idea a try." Masika, Laheli, Elodie cross over to the far side. Xenia, Ruby, and I will take this side. All 3 elephants move with surprising quickness to the spot where I crossed. They gallop back until they're facing us. It's strange to see them on the other side of the moat. With the wall destroyed, they're technically in Ivan and Kenyani's domain. "Move down a bit," Akello instructs. "That way." She motions with her head. "We want to scoop her out, not push her down." 3 on one side, 3 on the other. The elephants reach out for each other's trunks, creating a kind of cradle. "Okay now," says Akello. "Lower carefully." Down they go into the muddy water. Ruby nearly loses her footing, so I grab her tail with my teeth. It doesn't really help, and she yelps ouch, but my heart's in the right place. Kudzu thrashes her tiny arms. "Stay calm," I call. Easy for me to say. She looks over at me, and I'll never forget the fear in her eyes. Then she vanishes below the surface. Team Elephant. "Hurry!" Ruby cries. The elephants bend lower, moving like a giant elephant shovel. "Where is she?" Masika asks. "Lower," says Akello. "Lower, sisters." "There!" Ruby yells. "No, wait, there!" "Up," Akello commands, and the interlocked trunks rise from the muddy water to reveal a tiny, trembling baby gorilla sitting in their makeshift sling. "Kudzu," says Akello, "stay calm, baby. We're going to toss you to safety, okay?" Kudzu gives a little nod. "On my count," says Akello, "start swinging. 1, 2, 3. Up and over go the trunks, and up and over goes Kudzu. She lands with a little plop on the gorilla side of the moat, right next to Masika's rear legs. "Good work, everyone," says Akello. "And good thinking, Ruby." Thanks, elephants," says Kudzu, wiping mud from her eyes. "That was fun. Can we do it again?" Akello takes a deep breath. "Maybe later, sweetheart." So together the elephants have worked as a team to save the baby gorilla. Quickly, I make my way back over to the moat. Kudzu, I say, follow me. Let's go find your 8 peeps. Can I go with Bob? Ruby asks Akello. Akello touches Ruby's back with her trunk. I'd much rather have you here safe, dear. And it's, may I go with Bob? So not only did she say pretty much no, but she corrected her grammar. But Uncle Ivan, Ruby pleads. I'll keep an eye on her, I tell Akello. I'm going, Ruby says in her most determined voice. Maybe I can help. I helped just now. Akello hesitates but finally gives a slow nod. Probably she figures there's no arguing with Ruby. And she's right on that one. Ruby crosses the moat and joins Kudzu and me. Be careful, Akello warns. There's more of this storm coming. I got her, Akello, I say. You better have her, she warns. I think I flew, says Kudzu, as we weave our way through the wasteland that was Gorilla World. Yeah, me too, I say. It's that kind of day. And there's the entrance to Gorilla World, and you can see one of the trees that's been thrown down on it. So, we're still dealing with more of this hurricane that is hitting the zoo where George and Julia and Bob and Ivan and Ruby are. They've been separated, but now we see Ruby and Bob are back together. And even though Bob says he's not the hero type, he's definitely going around checking on all the different animals, isn't he? Kind of seems like a hero move to me, doesn't it? Sometimes heroes don't look at themselves as heroes, though. Sometimes heroes look at themselves as being scared, which is what Bob says he is. So it's interesting to see the different perspective. Do you think Bob's being a hero, or do you think he's acting like a coward? Let me know. Send me an email and let me know what you think. Alright guys, that's all for part 9 of the book. We will continue on reading in part 10. I hope you guys are enjoying. Bye guys.